Part of it.
Were you interested in being as close to the story as possible, or because of the nature of the animated media, were you interested in adding new things to kind of make the story feature length?
Well, I love the entire Batman Hush saga, and as soon as they do the 10-episode version, I'm watching that. But we had to get it down to 75. It turned out to be 80 minutes or so, and so we were going to have to lose things, and so it was really hard. So like, people were like, "Oh, that's my favorite scene. We can't lose it," you know. But by changing a couple things, some scenes fell out, and it enabled us to keep everything we loved about Hush and the tone of it, but make it something that was animatable.
Are there any other DC titles you would really like to see animated, or obviously that you would like to write?
You know what? There's one that I read, I don't know how old it is, a couple years ago, but the War of Jokes and Riddles, I'd really like to do that one.
It's a year and a half old, yeah.
Yeah? All right. So that one I got new. And boy, there's a Justice Society story. That's World War II and Nazis, and who doesn't like that? You know. So those are two that I'd love to do. But
was there anything that you added into this that wasn't in the comic that you felt like was necessary to tell the story?
Well, because of the problem we had with length, I was looking for places where in the story there are a lot of kind of red herrings, and I was like, what would happen if one of these red herrings was the way we go, and we could totally fake out the fans, you know? And by making a couple of those choices, some scenes fell out, and it became a little bit easier to produce. But as I said, it's a dozen-book series, right? So you can't get that into 75, 80 minutes. It's impossible, you know. So we did have some streamlining to do, and that was the hard part of it.
In the comic book, Batman is often kind of flanked by Oracle. In the animated movie, we saw by the trailer that Oracle is Batgirl. Is her role any similar to the comic, or does she take a new role because she's different person?
Boy, guys, you know, this is my first one of doing these, and I don't know if I can lay down like a spoiler here.
Spoilers.
Like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So like,
digital comes out when we all post this. It'll be out.
It's not a spoiler.
All right, if you get me in trouble, if I get fired. Yeah.
I'm just taking hits nowhere.
Oracle got trimmed. I'm sorry.
Was there any particular character within that story that you connected with more as you were writing it?
You know what? I really like Nightwing. You know, if there was a character whose role maybe slightly expanded a little bit, it was Nightwing. I just love writing for Sean on this, and I just thought he had a lot of great scenes in the comic with Batman and their relationship of him kind of saying, hey, this is okay for you to be in this relationship. You know, I really advise you to do it. And Batman's like, shut the hell up. You know? But he does listen. He respects Dick Grayson. He respects Nightwing. So it kind of shows his sway. And you know.
Which character's voice was the hardest to find?
Let me see. They're also well thought thought out and portrayed in the comic that it wasn't like, oh boy, this is a tough job. There might have been some characters that weren't used as much, but as I said, they probably got dropped in the slimming process. I just had we just had very good source material, right, to use. So I guess I had a little bit of trouble with Commissioner Gordon, trying to give him something different, but I think it turned out fantastic, and certainly the voice work was great.
Would you want to do a sequel for this story? Because there are obviously other Hush stories in the comics.
Heart of Hush. Yeah, Heart of Hush. Yeah.
That would be really cool. I would be psyched to write that.
In the original comic, as you mentioned, it was 12 issues. It is kind of episodic. There are a lot of characters kind of pop in, like Nightwing is mainly one issue. Superman is mainly in one issue. Did you have a problem having the characters kind of feel like they were in and out? Like you said, you were expanding on them. Did that pose a challenge in terms of how to give everybody enough time?
Well, that is one of the difficulties with this, is that it is a rogues gallery, so everybody kind of appears, and then they get defeated and put on the shelf a little bit. And I've been at this long enough to know that every scene, every sentence counts, so I'm like, boy, I only got one Harley scene, but it's a doozy. I cannot blow this. Oh, I've only got like 1.5 Superman scenes. It's got to be fantastic. I've only got one Joker scene. This thing's got to be great. So I just went over and over and over those. So that they only have a scene or so, it's like, well, Anthony Hopkins won the Oscar for Hannibal Lecter, and he was only in the movie for like 16 minutes. So I just picture these guys are coming out. I know they're going to give their A game for the scene, and I gotta make sure that I can distill how they appeared in Hush and give them something to work with.
Well, because there's so many characters, whether it's a hero or villain, which one did you have the most fun writing and adapting?
Most fun. Boy, I really like doing those Joker and Harley scenes. I guess tie between those guys, but. Just everything. It's such a good piece by Jeph Loeb and Jim Lee. I was so happy to do it, and those are so iconic. Those covers, the scenes and stuff. So it was just a pleasure.
So were you aware of the story, before the movie? Did you read it before or during?
Oh, I had read it when it came out.
Oh, nice.
The funny thing was, when I first read it, I was drawn to the Jim Lee art as a fan. I was, I don't know. I don't know how old I was, but that's what got me like, whoa, look at that comic. Look at that cover there, Joker with that bang gun. Look at Superman covered by Ivy's vines, right? But when I got the assignment to do it, then I really noticed Jeph Loeb's words and all the stuff he was setting up and trying to do. So I got to really read it twice and notice the two different things in different ways. Fun stuff.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I probably read all your sites.
You're welcome. Hey guys, how y'all doing? Fantastic. How's it going?
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
So this is a pretty intense personal story. What was it like playing Hush?
It was super, it's fun. It's fun to play the bad guy. But yeah, it's an intense story, which I've learned a lot more about sort of as I've been around it. But yeah, it's dark and
Were you familiar with the story beforehand?
Thank you.
At all?
Not as I wish I could say yes, but no, not a lot. I learned a lot sort of as I dove into it, and also realized, oh my God, this is a big deal.
Did it make you a fan now?
I remember going to school when I was 6, dressed as Batman, and then it was, tights and sort of black underwear, tight, and it wasn't, and I think I got laughed out of school. But point is, I was into that world from a young age, but I would not claim, I think coming to Comic-Con and getting to be a part of this, it's I don't want to say, the depth of knowledge around the lore of the mythology of comics is growing growing in how much I'm impressed by that. It's so cool.
This is a mystery, and there's a narrative with his friend Tommy, and Batman's antagonist Hush. I can't imagine you were in the dark as what the ending was, but did you find that challenging playing a mild-mannered doctor and a diabolical? Did you find that kind of hard time getting your head around?
It's what I love about doing it. So yes and no. I mean, I think that those are the challenges I like, because it's how cleanly can you differentiate between those two. I feel like, and I don't know if I'm remembering this exactly right, I feel like in a way they helped me, because as I remember, it's like we're hiring you for Thomas Elliot. And you'll also be playing Hush, which, because, right, they make sense. And so I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly, but it helped me, because I think I went in and did Thomas Elliot and then came back and did Hush, which just helped me. Someone might have a different story on that, but that's the way I remember it. So it really helped me separate the two, which I think just helped. It just helped keep them very separate, like two different people, which was cool, and that made my job a little bit easier. So,
would you like to play Hush in another DC movie? Maybe live action?
Yes. Totally. I mean, it's once you sort of step into this world and realize, I'm thrilled to have gotten to do it once. It would be cool if you get to come back and do it. You always want to work as an actor. We all want jobs. We all want to keep working, but this one will be fun to get to do it. Why not Hush? Get to do it again. So yeah, totally.
What do you think is the most interesting aspect of that character?
Of Hush?
Yeah.
That he is ahead in the chess match. That he does have this, sort of almost military tactician Sun Tzu kind of methodology where he actually is ahead of Batman is pretty cool. It's really cool. The writing is so good, that helps us so much. But yeah, to get to play someone who's powerful, actually powerful. A lot of villains, I think you can kind of see how they're powerful and then you see their flaw. And Hush in a way is no, I've got this. And that's and he does for a while. It backfires, but and I don't think he isn't that way inside necessarily. He's so troubled, whatever, but I think in this, that's what came across for me as I was playing it, is for most of it, he's got it, which was cool. So.
They impressed upon you because the whole Batman Rose Gallery, the 60 shows, movies, your Jokers, your Freezes, your Two-Faces, he is arguably one of the more popular recent characters in the Batman lore. Do they impress upon you what his kind of legacy was in the fandom?
Not specifically, not directly, but every time I was in The Killing Joke playing Paris Franz, a bad guy in that one, and then this. I feel like you can feel it when you walk into the room. You can feel it from the writers and the producers and the directors. You just know you're stepping into a pretty special world and an important world with a real responsibility to get it right, to make it work. They don't suffer fools either, so they're not going to let you stray too far from how they're thinking. So it's definitely collaborative in that sense. It's pretty amazing to get to be a part of it. So yeah.
Did you channel anything specific to create your version of Tommy?
No, I didn't. I think because the writing's so strong, it kind of pops off the page. It helps that you can find images, especially when you're in voiceover work. I think it's helpful to be able to find find a physical representation, namely because it's incredible to me, when I was sort of starting out doing the voice stuff, like if you change your body, your voice changes. So if you pose yourself differently, carry yourself differently, it does affect. So it's helpful to have the images to reference to, because it just, that all helps in sort of how to create something and pick it apart. Yeah.
What do you? Oh, you go.
Sorry.
No, good.
Did they ever prepare you? We're doing this story. It's based on comic book. Here's the comic book. Or did they say only the script? Don't look at the comic book?
I only got the script. I went and got the comic book. I mean, I went and started making sure I was doing that. I don't remember if they. No, I think I just got the script from them.
They didn't forbid you.
No, not that I remember. Yeah, it's out there. So I think it was, they're like, you can go check it out. There'll be some.
Try and stop you.
Yeah, just let them try. It's like, dude, I got a job to do. There's some twists in this, and some changes. So and which also meant they were like, sure, you go look, because we're sort of doing our own story too. So.
And why do you think this story resonates with so many people?
I think in the pantheon of all of this, it's a real. I think Batman goes through some real changes in this. You see a really different expression of Batman and more vulnerability. He feels like he's changing in this, so you see difference in him. Not to mention he's really challenged. Like he's really, really, really threatened. And you get to just see one villain after the next. I mean, it's so freaking cool how they keep coming and coming and coming. So you get all these different, and you get the history. I think it's cool that you get the sort of Thomas Elliot part of that too, of the backstory of childhood and moments of. There's a really sort of touching scene between Thomas Elliot and Bruce Wayne that's about their childhood, and loyalty and that piece, and how Batman says, I don't think they're all spoilers. He's like, I want to be a better friend. You can feel him starting to go, maybe I don't want to be the Batman as in that way anymore, or different at least. So I think that's really cool to see the iconic character make a change. And there are a lot of them, I think, in the movie who are other characters as well, who are kind of going through shifts. So, yeah.
Do you find yourself sympathizing with the villains, or kind of just trying to keep your emotions separate from the story?
If I follow the question, I mean, I think you still have to be. The cool thing I think about acting in a way, and this may sound cheesy, it's a lot about love. Like you have to love the character you're playing. You can't be judging the character, because then you're sort of in your head and you have to get behind what they really, really, really want. So in that sense, I think you have to put your feelings aside. I'm still rooting for Batman at the end of the day, But yeah, if that answers the question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the danger I think you can as an actor get in trouble, because you start having to separate yourself from your values and systems and what you believe in, and really relying on a day-to-day basis to go, what if I love the things this person loves? I think what's terrifying is a lot of these people in life think they're coming from love. They're actually trying to make the world a better place, they think. And they'll kill and do whatever they want in the process. But it comes from, if I do this, the world will be better.
I don't think that applies to the Joker, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. He's just messing shit up. Good point.
Once you got to know the character of Hush a little bit more, were you surprised that there wasn't more Hush out there outside of the comics itself?
I don't know if I have an answer to that. Now that yeah. I mean, I'm not a super fan in the way some people are knowing it all, but it felt like a discovery to me in a way. Like, and so that was kind of cool. Like, wait, who's this whole storyline? I didn't know this guy. I mean, I know a lot of the other villains. If that answers your question, but yeah, it was kind of like wait, what's this all about? And even starting to do research yet, like, oh, they haven't done this one, and they haven't done this one, and they're like, I think 5 other graphic novels that are in the Hush world that get into the plastic surgery stuff, and Heart of Hush, and so I just got goosebumps. So yeah, and that's where I was like, oh, wait a minute, there could be more. So yeah, no, it was cool. Like, wait a sec, this was like an unexplored world. Yeah.
Are there any character in the stable of DC that you would love to voice?
I gotta do. I mean, sorry, Jason. Batman has always been there. I mean, the sort of the Batman Joker. I did a little short film where I did Red Hood, and that would be fun to do with Jason Todd. I think that character is really, really, really cool. I wish I still had that mask. Those are the first ones that kind of come to mind. Bane. Some of the obvious, but that's what's cool about this world. I feel like that's fine. Like the obvious ones. Yeah, because they're freaking awesome, and they're so. Yeah.
So you do painting now.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it'd be neat. That one would be a tough one to find your own spin on. Thomas Hardy did such a job with it that reset the bar that I think you'd want to include that somehow. But yeah.
So this production team is famous for doing like DC Comics animation work. The voice actors have kind of gone on to have a legacy of their own. Mark Hamill's different convoys. These animated movies are adapting classic storylines. Are you prepared to be known as Hush, have an old fan base of people loving the dad tag?
Yes, totally. Yeah, no, it would be. I would. Yeah, I don't know if my mom would be thrilled, but she's still confused why I keep playing all these bad guys. It's like, yeah, but yeah, totally.
Do you have a favorite line?
Oh man, from the movie. I mean,
Maybe both comic and movie, right?
I think my brain's going soft. The laugh is the first thing that comes up to me. I'm going to disappoint you with this answer. There's another character I voice in the movie that's like a guard who says something. I think it's something like, "I gave him enough tranquilizer to put down a herd of elephants," and that one was kind of fun when I heard it again of a totally separate character. There were some great. There's a line. It's like not now, Batman, not now, or too soon, Batman. It's where you can feel Hush sort of in his plan of I'm just toying with you, And there's one about him. I'm going to hurt everyone you love. That's pretty nasty. Yeah.
Do you enjoy saying that line when you said it?
Yeah. Terrible to admit. Yeah. It's those lines where you really just get to lay into it, and you are. I guess it's always like this, but you're really trying to tell the truth of this is what's going to happen. So okay. So yeah.
So have you seen the full movie yet, or is it
I have.
tonight?
I saw it last night to prep myself. So yeah, I think you guys. I'll be curious to see how the audience responds to it.
How was your reaction to it?
I was great. I was like, what? Oh my God! I didn't know. I don't know why it felt that way. That's how I'm remembering of it. That's not because I knew. I knew the both. But anyways, I think it's just helped me. No, I'll be curious to see how the audience responds to it. Yeah.
At least you get a live reaction, which is cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
You hope.
Yeah, I'm sure.
People who have been comics when you see these movies fresh, you're wondering, surprised at everything. I'm interested because again, this is a mystery. I'm interested to see people's reactions to that. How did you take to like the actions, like the grunts and the falling noise?
Those are always tough. They're fun. Wes, our casting director, is very helpful in giving you, even if it sounds random, like, okay, no, that was a left elbow to the jaw. Like get real specific. Otherwise, they can start sounding sort of all the same. So it's really helpful, I think, when you have a director in the room because they can make you start to differentiate between, so they don't all sound exactly the same. And again, it's really interesting when you get that specific how different the sound. It totally changes. I mean, duh. But again, it's neat. Yeah, those are the ones you have to be careful with your voice. We always do those at the end. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you guys.
Maury,
Yeah, thank you guys.
I give you Bruce Thomas, our Commissioner Gordon.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Officer Gordon.
Yes, officer. You might have just opened up a whole new history for him. He's an officer.
Welcome to our table.
Thank you. Look at this. I love this. This is awesome. Oh, well, I don't know how well I did that. I seem to be failing at that miserably every film. Who the hell hired me? I'm not doing a very good job. Chaos is breaking loose everywhere.
So when you were hired as James Gordon for this storyline, what was your impression of the character going in, and then that impression changed once you got near the end of the recording session?
Well, this is the third time I've played him, so I understand who he is.
Did you play, was it Bad Blood?
Yeah, Bad Blood and Son of Batman.
That's right.
Yeah, and so it's a good question if he changed over the course of the film. Let me preface this by saying I haven't seen the film yet, and I didn't read the script when I was given the role. And we did it 2 years ago, and I'm trying to remember what we did. I know that this particular film, there's so much chaos breaking loose in such a mysterious way. Nobody knows what's going on. And so he leans more on Batman more than he ever has. And he has to shove aside this inclination to arrest the idiot for creating such a hard time with him in the city. As we speak, I'm trying to see how it changed. I don't know. I don't think it has during the course of the film. I'll wait and see it tonight. I'll give you an answer after that.
Find me later.
Yeah.
Would you like to see a Batgirl movie? That way you can kind of have a father-daughter relationship.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
I want to see it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
Just
love
don't
that.
mention the rooftop scene.
Well, we won't mention that during the show. But, how would you think that would turn out, you know? What would you like to see in a movie like that?
I think it would be a great way to flesh out both of their characters and in that relationship. I think it'd be really fun to explore that. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Because it would help her have a fatherly figure in her life, and to bring out that other side of her, not so vengeful or whatever she is. Yeah, it'd be really interesting.
You're continuing a long legacy of Commissioner Gordon actors. Who've been some of your favorites?
Gordon. I mean, Gordon. Oldman.
Oh, Gary Oldman.
I mean, I just love Gary Oldman to death, and because he walks that. Every single scene that he's done, he's walking that line between love and hate for Batman. This need to have him as a companion, not a companion, but as a partner in crime, but also wanting to arrest the guy. And so I think there's that huge battle and that dichotomy in his mind every single day, and he plays that beautifully, I think. And in particular, Oldman's performance showed me the kind of emotion that a father has in the way he protects the people of the city. And that, for me, really rings a bell. I'm a father, and Bruce, that's what I try to bring mostly to Gordon, to playing Gordon, is that the caring that he has for people, for all people.
Is that, I guess, going back to my terms of impression, your thoughts on the character? Like, do you think that he's kind of weighed down by his reluctance in terms of his job and trusting Batman, or do you think that is that something that he struggles with every night, or is it just kind of in the back of his mind in terms of trusting someone outside the law to apprehend those outside the law?
Oh, I think. I think obviously at night it's the worst for Gordon, because he has to put aside all that during the day and get stuff done. But it informs his actions during the day too, for sure. It's constant. I think it probably keeps him up at night.
As someone who's played this character multiple times, do you feel like there's an aspect of the character that you haven't been able to explore yet that you'd really like to at some point in another film?
That's a good question. I no, I haven't thought about it, but thinking about it now, I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. I don't know. Sorry. Stumped me.
Is there any character within the DC universe now you would like to play, voice?
I think everybody wants to play some villains. I mean, everybody would want to crack at Joker.
That's
But I think, or maybe even Two-Face. Two-Face would be fun to play because he's more human. He's just a guy that's through situation and circumstances really had to do a 180. So that would be fun to play. Just the immediacy of it, just because it's so fresh for him. This thing that happened to him, but then like a week before that, being heralded as virtuous and one of the good guys in the city. Yeah, that would be really fun to play.
There we go, DC.
What's that?
So there we go, DC.
Yeah, there we go, DC.
That's awesome.
You ever remember playing kind of running characters like
I like doing those villains. I've played a bunch of them. They're always great, as opposed to the Marvel comics, who tend to be more human and just psychologically messed up. The performances are more human, more everyday people. But the DC people let you cut loose. And, I played Atrocitus in Green Lantern, which is just this deep voiced Atrocitus guy. Or I played Ubu, who's just this big thug. He's a criminal. Desaad is this little mangy little guy that wants Superman so bad. So you can really cut loose with those guys, and that's just fun. It's just so much fun. Yeah. I think I'm being called. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hey, Riddler was popping.
Just trying to kill Batman. Oh man, what a thrill.
Thanks for coming over to the table.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Alrighty.
Was this a character that you were interested in voicing and approach you?
Yeah. Is this a character that what? That
Did they approach you for the Riddler?
They did. They approached me for the Riddler. I was a fan of the Hush storyline, and when I found out that I was going to get to play the Riddler, I was very excited. He's a small part, but he plays such a big part of getting all these bad guys together. So it's like, and this story's so cool. It's like it gives us the romantic Batman that we kind of wanted to see with Selina Kyle. It gives us the emotional pulling back to his childhood. I mean, it puts him on the ropes. It's always good to see Batman falter a little bit, He's such a sociopath. He's usually to see him get nervous is really, really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too. I think that's the best part of the story, I think. But he actually, got this one guy finally ahead of the guy that always preps.
He's always prepped, and he's always focused, and the kiss with Catwoman, not to spoil anything, but it throws him. It's like if you're on your job and you're thinking about the burgeoning love in your life and you're Batman, it's one thing if you're just doing a regular job, but if you're on the edge of a rooftop, and you're you should be focused on the bad guys and you're thinking about a kiss, that's a big chink in the armor,
He's just busy him being on Joker, just thinking about damn.
Yeah, totally. Oh no, I killed him. Yeah. I mean, I've, it's funny. It's I grew up reading all of it as a kid, and then I was when graphic novels started coming back, and really they started, so many DC and Marvel started printing graphic novels, I got back into that, but it's so expensive, physical stuff, and then Comixology comes out, and you can get everything digitally. I just sort of dove back into it. So I caught Hush, Court of Owls, all the recent storylines through digital
digital format, which is awesome. It's really cool to have now. And then of course, like the Warner Brothers animation is the best, you know, and getting to see all these storylines come out in such a good way. Like this movie, if it was live action, I keep saying it'd be like a $500 million movie. The size of like the cast, the set pieces, and they do it right. They're one of the only people that do these animations right.
Agreed, 100%. The other publishing does not mention them. Kind of very weak.
Yeah, they don't even really try. And you see, and maybe it's because these guys are killing it so hard. You know?
That's the whole thing, yeah. Although they may lead in the other field of film.
Sure, but you know,
it's
a seesaw. Maybe it'll come back because, you know, growing up, there was nothing cooler than the Tim Burton Batmans.
Yeah, right.
You know, there was Superman 1978 was, you know, still brings a tear to my eyes when I see the credits come up. Like these movies, Warner Brothers was at the forefront. I mean, DC was at the forefront of this superhero explosion. You know, I mean, Marvel kind of took over, but Wonder Woman was amazing.
They took over only when it became the studio, not the enterprises.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
So you're a seasoned comic reader. Do you have any favorite Riddler stories?
I would have to say, I can't, you know, I'm drawing a blank. I can't really think of one, but I will say that the animated series Riddler was my favorite iteration of the Riddler. You know, yeah, John Glover's like take on it, the real like pushing into the cerebral aspect of who the Riddler is, you know, and that separate sort of upper class, you know, I'm smarter than you are, and I'm toying with you because, you know, but also respect for Batman. I thought that was incredible. I mean, I thought the whole animated series arcs on all the villains. There's nothing more iconic than Mark Hamill's Joker, you know, and Kevin playing Batman. That's like that. Those voices still ring in my head. Like those are. It's a dope story.
Did you have John Glover in your mind when you were like scenes to play?
It was impossible for me not to think of him. I went back and watched a lot of it because like the Blu-rays came out, and like, I mean, I have like the original. My dad used to tape them on like, we had one of those TVs for some reason with like a Sony Hi8 like mini cassette recorder. So he recorded all of them on these like little micro cassettes that only play in that TV, you know? So we would just rewatch them over and over and over again. So it was impossible for me not to think of Glover, but I also had this like fear that I was going to screw it up. So I was trying to like respect him, respect Gorshin even, like going back and seeing that stuff, and then let it all go and just come at it from a more, I guess, a modern place. Like my Riddler is really, really focused on Batman. I feel like he wants to be Batman, you know? He matches him wits-wise, intelligence-wise, but physically he can never live up, and I feel like that's his source of like angst and villainy and anger. He wants Batman to see him and respect him, but he also kind of wishes he wasn't such a nerd, you know? And I think that's where I'm coming from with that.
Do you think Riddler is the most fun Batman villain to play?
I mean, I think this Riddler in Hush, I think honestly, and not just because I'm playing it, it is the most fun I could think of getting to play, you know? I mean, not to spoil anything, but we take him to a lot of different places, even though he's such a small part. But, you know, the Joker, you know, if you put a gun to my head, you know, the Joker is just, and Mark Hamill's the Joker. I don't even know how you would approach, you know, it's amazing what they've done. We've seen so many different Jokers and they're all amazing, but it's like Mark Hamill lives on in my head as the Joker, you know, such a fun part.
Is there a DC story you would like to see Warner Brothers adapt? And
totally cool. I mean, I just like recently the Court of Owls. That's such a cool arc, you know. I love the idea of going into Gotham's history, of going into like the Illuminati aspects of what made this major city. Like it's so rife for like storytelling, and in this format, I think. Yeah.
And who would you like to play in Court of Owls?
I mean, look, everybody wants to play Batman. There's no better character than playing Batman because he's the hero and he's also a sociopath. So it's like you get to play both sides, you know.
Yeah.
And in that particular story, he's like, he's in such trouble too, you know. It's so cool. But yeah, I would love. I mean, honestly, just being a part of this universe has been such a thrill. I'd do anything they asked, any character. Yeah. So.
Which is the one voice that you love? The one voice.
The one voice?
The one voice.
Batman.
Just Batman.
Batman.
No one else.
I mean, the one.
Okay, let's do the second one. Second pick.
Second pick? Oh man. Second pick would be Mr. Freeze because everything he comes from is like from love, but he's filled with so much hate. It's such a cool.
He's deeply emotional.
Yeah, he's so deeply emotional. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Justin Copeland stepping in. He's our director. Jeffrey, come this way. What's up, guys?
What's up?
So I've seen video of you three, you were excited.
Yeah.
Pick on so what were some specific sequences that were in front of your mind that you couldn't wait to get to?
Let's see. I feel like all of them. I mean, as a director, you're just looking forward to putting a vision on screen. I got the script, and by the time I got the script, I heard something from James Tucker that I'd never heard. He was like, "The script is good," and I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" You know, normally he's like, "We got to do a lot of work," you know, because we do a lot of rewriting in the storyboard phase. But this one was really strong. It was a really strong script, so I was looking forward to doing a lot of stuff. I tell you, there's a fight scene inside of a prison that you guys are gonna like a lot. That was a lot of fun. Without me giving away too much, that was a blast. You'll see.
What do you think was the most important scene from the original Hush story that you really want to translate for the film?
I really liked Batman's relationship. I should say Bruce Wayne's relationship with Tommy, his childhood friend. I thought that was interesting. The more human you can make Bruce Wayne, the more dramatic the story is going to be. You know, because like, where does Batman end and where does Bruce begin? Like, that's fuzzy. You know, so there's some scenes with Tommy that I think are really cool. There's also a scene at the end that James Tucker himself boarded that's fantastic. It's really good. It's really, really good. So I had a blast on that.
You know, as the original story, there are a lot of characters. There are characters that, like, because of the content,
Yeah.
Barbara's background was not before. Was that at all challenging, or was it simple kind of going about just what you're doing?
Heck yeah, it's challenging because we got to sit here and answer these questions. So yeah. I think in the sense of we have our own universe. So like when they told me I was going to direct it, I'm like, yo, how's that going to fit with we have our own universe in the films? How are we going to make that fit? And then everybody's read the comic. So how do you keep the story fresh and surprising when everybody's read it? And I think that you guys will be pleasantly surprised at how we handled that. It's really cool. It's one of my favorite scripts, you know, that we've had. I was teasing Sam Liu. Sam is my mentor, so he put me through the ringer to become a director. I was teasing him when I read the script. I'm like, this thing is, I don't have to rework, you know, a lot of it, and he threw something at me. So yeah, it was a blast from beginning to end. So,
was there any difficult points, you know, in directing the film that you faced and had to overcome?
Yeah, it's always difficult when you start with these dang on things because you have a really long script and you only have so much footage, you know, and you put that script into the hands of your board team, your storyboard team, and I had some killers on this one. I had like at least 3 directors, you know, as my board artist. So just, you know, trying to wrangle in the story as you allow them to go crazy, like do your thing with it, you know, but keeping the story tight. We cut a lot of stuff out. We had to. That was one of the hardest parts. Jeffrey, who does the voice for Riddler, he's got some really great stuff that we couldn't keep. We couldn't keep it in the movie because it was. Yeah, I don't know. I think you know, it comes down to, does it tell the story or not? Okay. So what we're seeing is the best of what he's done. Yeah. So.
Did that make make incorporating this large rogues gallery even more difficult in saying that?
The difficult part to incorporating a rogues gallery is you got to give them their due. You know, you got to make, like Riddler has to be Riddler. You know, Poison Ivy has to be Poison Ivy. Joker, that scene was hard as heck. You know, that one matched the comic book pretty good, but you got to bring Joker out. You know what I mean? So that's the difficult part. Allowing these characters to be themselves. It's tough.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
And what other DC comics would you like to adapt and direct?
Somebody asked me this question earlier. One of my favorite series that we've done from a while ago was No Man's Land. I think that would be. Yeah. I mean, right. That Batgirl is my favorite. Say one of my favorite characters. Yeah. So, but you know, we serve at the pleasure of the president. So whatever they tell me, yeah, that's what I got to do. But that's the dream.
Put the inkling in their ear.
Yeah.
We're doing it right now to be like a 3-part movie.
What would be dope is if it was like you did it like a Spider-Verse feature. You know, that could be next level. You know what I mean? It'd be very interesting. Yeah. So, but that's my dream. That's my dream. They know that I want to do that.
Okay.
I stopped bothering them about it, but that's my dream gig.
So you wear No Man's Land t-shirts at the office? Like, yo.
That could be. You know, drive them crazy because they have their, you know, they know what they can see 5 years out. You know, but they call me in the office and like, yo, you're gonna direct this one. I'm like, great. You know, so we'll see. Hopefully one of these days.
Was it a pleasant surprise when they just
Heck yeah, it was. I was on Reign of Superman at the time. I was the head of story, and they called me into the office. Amy McKenna, our producer, and James Tucker, which I think, have you guys talked to James yet?
Not yet.
I think he left.
Not at all.
But he's like, hey, I'm gonna give you Hush, you know, and I'm like, what? Oh my God, I hate to steal it, you know, because to me it was like a full circle moment, starting with the comic. I was trying to break into comics at the time, and you know, just like the late night stand-up drawing, and then finally getting this as, you know, my directorial debut at WB was it was awesome.
What was that journey?
By the time I had it, it was about 3 years. I started with Killing Joe. I was one of the board artists on Killing Joe, and then they were like, Bruce really likes your work on Killing Joe, and I was like, cool, I want to direct here. You know, that's my goal, is to direct. And Sam brought me under his wing. He made me his head of story, and just kicked the crap out of me until I learned, you know, how to do this.
And how did your art background help you for this film in particular?
It helps a lot. I mean, animation is hard as heck. I started as a comic book artist. In comic books, you got to know how to draw everything and tell a visual story shot by shot, you know, and that's film, you know, so it really came in handy, but kudos to my storyboard team. They're the ones that draw, you know, they're the ones that bring this thing out, you know, so I have a huge ass team. That's how I did it. Yeah, cool.
Well, shout out to the huge ass team.
Yeah, man, shout out.
Well, awesome.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. All right. Come with me.
Justin, you're going over here. Copeland's our director. Jeffrey, you're coming over here. Thank you so much. This is our Riddler. Sean, you're going over here. Sean, super
Apparently I'm going here. Hello everybody. Hello. How was everyone today?
Well, thank you.
Look at all these mics. I'll try not to go like
Well, unless you got skill.
Right, I do. No, I have no skill. I got nothing. Yeah, it's all right. Great. I am Jason Spisak. Technically, yes, that's how you say it.
The voice actors, yeah, we don't always recognize you because we know the voices.
Sure, of course, yeah.
I enjoy you as Fred Bug with 2 Gs.
Fred Bug with 2 Gs, yeah. He's great. He's got 6 arms and 2 Gs. Yeah. Yes, and then there's Wally. Hey, inches above sizzling death, I'm entitled to speak my mind. Yes.
And now the Joker.
And now the Joker. Yeah, super honored to get a chance to do this, man. I mean, it's not only is it a great story, Batman Hush, but the fact that they've created like a whole new Batman universe that I got to kind of just do my own thing as the Joker, not have to imitate anybody else is a big honor. So yeah, very, very lucky guy.
Is it nice to be able to play the Joker like that, where you feel like the handcuffs are off?
Yes.
You got to do whatever you want with the character, but even though it's such small parts, you really feel
handcuffs. Ooh, kinky. Yeah, it's very liberating when they just say, look, go for this. Go for broke. Do what you want to do, what you hear in your your mind. And I literally got plenty of opportunities to reach in deep as an actor. And there's a brutal scene in the alley. There's lots of comedic scenes, and this whole range of the Joker for this particular Joker. He has a big gamut in a short amount of time, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, incredibly liberating, and go for broke. How hard? Yeah. I was just telling somebody that it's like a symphony to me. So it has like the bass notes, it has the breathiness, it has the super high notes, and I just thought about it like composing like a composer. Like what notes do I want to have in there? Is that okay? That's too much to this. Let's put a little more of that. So it was sort of like making a piece of music to me. Yeah. So. And it gets super high, which I won't do right now because I'm saving that for the panel. But yeah. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I was doing something on a film set one time, and I made a Joker face, and then the director of photography took it home and photoshopped it into the Joker. So there's a photo on IMDb of me as the Joker. It's actually very cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's still up there. It's on my profile. So yeah, it's a good thing to put on the the what do you call it, like the posters and stuff for your interview, I guess. Yeah.
So, we just from the trade class,
sure.
Wide range of DC characters.
Right.
Are you like a DC fan? Have you done
I think I've found my niche. I actually have always loved the DC stories better. I mean, I read Green Lantern when I was growing up. I had a voice for Joker in my head before I ever heard Mark or anybody do it. So I'm bringing the voice that I hear when I read the comics, and I'm hoping I share that with DC fans, and I'm hoping they like it, because that's why it's original, because it's from me. So yeah, it's always just kind of been in there. The Joker's always been in my head, but don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Yeah, right. Between you, me, and my psychologist. So yeah, it's been a great ride.
Is there anything challenging within the movie that you found?
Yeah, the alley scene I think was very difficult because it's incredibly brutal. It's incredibly physically exertive, and I'm in the booth full on choking myself and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So I wish there was video of that, but Wes and James, they'll all tell you. Wes Gleason, who's the voice director, amazing talent. They'll tell you that I'm full on inhabiting it when I'm in that booth, and it can get taxing. You're doing a take after take, and you want to get it just right. You want it to feel like it's visceral. So yeah, that was incredibly. It sounds weird. It was incredibly fun to choke myself. No, it was incredibly fun to really get into that, but also physically challenging. Yeah.
Any other DC characters you'd like to play? Because you played so many already.
Gosh, I've seen Wally West. I've played Razor from Green Lantern the animated series. I would love to see Green Lantern the animated series come back, because they're so yeah.
I loved it.
Congratulations. After weeks of stalking Shard, you found the secret as to where they dump their garbage. Can total victory be far behind? Yeah, Razor, I would love to play him again. Yeah, I think they should come out with a Razor standalone comic. Even if they don't do anything animated, I think Razor's story with Aya would be great to just give to the fans, because he was not in the DC universe at all, and they just made him up for the show. And it's a great story. I'd love to see him have a standalone comic.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's right, because I'm a writer today. I know a few comic book writers.
You can pitch it then.
I'll back it.
You're at San Diego.
I'll back it. I'll be like, this has got to happen.
Kickstarter time.
Right. Blow it up.
Yeah, when the Warner Brothers lawyers start knocking on the door, just use the Joker face.
Right. Hello. Oh, hi. I ordered a pizza. So I would like to voice, I was telling somebody, like a Scarecrow, a really vicious Scarecrow sort of origin story, how you see how he goes from a twisted, psychologist, and I thought that's missing in the animated universe. I haven't seen that yet, and so I'd love to play a twisted Scarecrow. I think that would be super cool. From, psychologist to madman. Yeah, there's a lot of things I still want to do. I actually want to play Batman. I really would like to play Batman. I know that sounds weird. You're all listening to me going, no, man, I don't hear it, brother. But I know I would really like to do both Batman and the Joker. I think that would be cool. I do. I actually did scratch of Batman on Young Justice. So we were doing a couple of scenes, and Bruce Greenwood could not be there for the day, and they needed a scratch for Batman. And so Greg goes, "Hey, Jason, could you just read the scratch lines for Bruce Wayne and then Batman in this scene?" And I did it, and Greg goes, "You could be a Batman. You could be a really good Batman." And so if Greg Wiseman says I could be a Batman, and then I think it's probably possible. So, yeah. Well, they were recording the radio play for an episode of Young Justice, and if a certain actor can't make it, they want to fill in those lines so that they have the timing. Sometimes they have to animate it before the actor's available. So if Bruce Greenwood was like on a film or something, then they're animating the radio play without Bruce's voice, and then he comes in and he has to voice it later. Depends. Yeah, and it's usually storyboard, like, so they want to get a sense of how the scenes are going to go, and then he's still doing original. He's not coming in to do ADR or anything like that. He's just coming in a little late to the process, and they don't want to wait to get it storyboarded, so they want the whole radio play, all the lines. So we sometimes have people do scratch tracks, what they call scratch tracks. What's that? What the lines were? I can't remember, actually. No. I do remember Greg saying I could be Batman. It's the only thing I remember. Everything else is kind of a blur. Like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
That's what you kept hearing.
And then like a ringing sound, like.
On the subject of Young Justice, how has the fan reaction been for you this year? Because Forager's voice has been very beloved and much imitated.
Forager is Forager. Yes. Forager is naked now. I am thrilled that the fans have taken to any character that I create, but it's especially honoring to have them love Wally and then also love Forager, which they're totally different characters, they totally different voices, and that's a huge, huge compliment. So I'm very honored, first of all, to have been in anything that Greg and Brandon create, like Young Justice season 3, but to have the fans take to Forager is a huge compliment. I really, really love it. I love it. Yeah. And I was on DC Daily, and they go.
I just had to do an article about your appearance on that last.
They were doing Forager impressions, so like they were. I think it was like episode 187 or something, and they all like challenge each other. So one person starts doing Forager, and so when one person starts doing Forager, other people start doing Forager, and then they all started like imitating Forager, and it's sort of like really you feel beloved when you're an actor, and then all of a sudden people feel like they want to imitate something you've done. That's like the highest compliment. So yeah.
And how did you feel?
Oh, the bugs? Oh yeah. I did. There was some DVD extras and stuff that I did. Talked about how I created the bug sounds, and I'll go over it briefly. Basically, I was listening to a documentary on how cicadas sound. Cicadas are actually 3 different noises. One is a, and one is a. So when you hear them together, it's that cacophony of cicada noise. So I thought, well, Forager would speak universal bug, right? So that's where I got all those sounds together, and I started to put them together, and Brandon and Greg liked it, and I thought, well, maybe you hear those when he's emotional or he can't think of what to say, so in between words, and it just kind of all came together for an extra piece of flavor.
He's stolen our hearts.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you watching it. I really do. And you brought it back because it was dead, like Wally. It was dead.
Well, hopefully we can bring Wally back too.
That would be nice.
Right?
I hear everybody saying that, and I'm like, it's Young Justice, man. Actions have consequences. The world is real.
You need to hurry because Artemis is making eyes at Roy. So
I won't have that, dude. I won't have it. But Roy, you're my friend. What the hell, man? Right. Totally. Right. Behind my back? What the hell, Roy?
and then you just go all Joker on her.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Wally turns into the Joker. That's an interesting storyline.
Well, you could play the Joker in Young Justice then.
I would love that. Yeah.
You're done.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. See you guys later.
Thanks.
Falls for someone, and he's completely taken off guard by it. In a way, the timing couldn't be worse, and so I feel pretty strongly that for the first time since I started playing the character, that the lines between Bruce Wayne and Batman are really getting blurred here. Because really now, how do you define it? Is he Batman when he has the cowl on, and Bruce when he doesn't? But he's also a father, and he's now a lover. You can't really be yourself when you're trying to be someone else. So I feel like the line between them is being blurred here, and I find that really exciting, because I think it's defining and makes this version of the character kind of unique.
Up to the green room.
Okay, so I was wondering, since what was your preparation for bringing this version of Batman to this film as opposed to previous versions?
Do you mean previous versions that I've done?
Yes. Because I know that I imagine the character has kind of changed and evolved over time just with the story.
It's changed and evolved naturally. Like it's not like, oh, I'm doing Batman Hush, so he's going to be different. It's evolved naturally throughout. That's what I'm trying to say. Throughout, this is now the 10th film in this series, and it's almost like 22 hours of television. Like it's like a full season of ups and downs, and it continues the story in a very strong way. So the fact that, obviously some changes had to be made to sort of retrofit Batman Hush to fit into this continuity, while also remaining faithful to the principles and the themes of the story. So I didn't have to do any special preparation. I was already a fan of the comic book, and honestly, I was just waiting for them to announced that they were going to do Batman Hush with someone else in some other version of the universe, and then when they said they were going to do it with this one, I was doing backflips for joy. I really was. And even when I was recording the film, I kept thinking of this day, this moment, before going to Ballroom 20 and watching it play to 4,250 people, and it just gives me such a rush to hear them laugh and cheer and clap. And I'm not particularly fond of the sound of my own voice. That part is a bit cringy, but I do love watching them react and have fun. And so it's almost like this time it's personal for Batman, and this time it's personal for me too.
Do you feel like this is one of the most, if not the most personal Batman story you've ever been a part of?
Yes, but I feel like we've earned it. Like, it's not like we've gone from a version of Batman where he's just like, he's Batman and he's out there and he's solving crime and kicking ass, and then all of a sudden he's Bruce Wayne and he's talking to Alfred, and this Batman has always had this sort of internal struggle, and he's always struggled with holding his emotions together. He's struggled with his own demons and his own unique backstory. Don't forget, he was manipulated in a particularly grotesque way by Talia that hasn't happened in any other Batman continuity. So he carries that with him, and he's also trying to be the best father he can. So, I feel like just as Batman Hush was era-defining as a graphic novel for its time, or as Batman issues, the 12 issues that were just instant classics 15 years ago, I feel that this is continuity defining for this particular series, and there's a group of Batman fans who have grown up watching these movies now, which is very rewarding. It's all I heard was Kevin Conroy for the last 7 years. Kevin Conroy is amazing. I'm a huge fan as well, but there's now a generation of kids who've grown up watching these movies in particular, and that's I must say that's really rewarding.
Was it interesting seeing Batman's relationship with Damian kind of evolve to where it's
Yeah.
to the point now, like you said, his relationship with women, he goes from Talia, now he's with Selina. So how was that kind of seeing that progression for his character?
Well, he's with Selina, but will he, won't he? It's not exactly like they right off. Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's absolutely been part of it, and I think how he's every single episode, it's almost like you want to call them episodes in these movies. We've had some progression and some evolution of Batman and Bruce Wayne, and according to my theory, they've started that's why I feel this is earned. Like it's not like Batman Hush has come out of nowhere. It's like it almost feels like this is kind of the next logical step, the next right episode for this particular universe.
What's it like to have this come out when Batman turns 80 too?
Well, it's serendipity. I mean, you couldn't plan it better, could you? Also, like, you know, I suppose in a way I've been unfortunate in that I've never had a Batman standalone title at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
This is my first one, even though it's my 10th. So it's just the way the scheduling, you know, release dates work out. And so that in itself is a thrill. Look, I think we are all servants to the character. Whether you're playing it in live action or voice acting, or whether you're drawing a frame or a cell, you have to serve the character. The character was around long before I was born and will be around long after I'm gone, and you just try to leave the character in a better place than you found it and serve it as best you can and move on, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's always an honor and a privilege whenever I get a chance to do it, and particularly so in this case. I'm very, very proud of this movie.
What do you personally do to get into character to play Batman?
Honestly, I don't. It requires warming up. It requires spending some time in front of the mic, reading the first few scenes. I call it finding my, dropping in, finding my sweet spot, my sweet zone, and just trying to find that place in my vocal range where it's starting to come alive, or it starts to sound like what I think when I read a Batman comic book, So that's all I can really bring to it, and I can also bring my own, experience as a human being. But that's a natural actor's process anyway. I'm a dad as well in real life, not to a ninja assassin, but he has his moments. You know what I'm saying? Just bring all of that and try to make it as truthful as possible. But no, I don't have like a ritual or any weird. And also, it's not just me up there. I work with really good voice directors, Wes Gleason on this is a terrific voice director. Earlier on, it was Andrea Romano, who helped me sort of become Batman through Justice League War and a couple others in those early days. So, I give a lot of credit to these guys, And James Tucker, in particular, as a producer, I've really enjoyed working with him. He's got a real instinct for the character. And we're all aware that we want to try to make this version of the character stand out. Like there's so many versions, and they're all great. But it's like you got to carve your own turf out somewhere,
Yeah.
I feel like we've done that in a sort of a natural way without forcing it too much.
And if you could play any other character in the DC universe aside from Batman that you haven't played before, what would it be and why?
I've always thought Joker, because I just love how unhinged he is, and I don't know. Every time, it just feels like Batman when he's on the screen, or when he's in the book. Like it's Batman. It's almost like he's the villain that defines the hero, So I think I probably love him for that reason. But I do have this weird, dirty secret. This has got nothing to do with Batman, guys. But when I was a child, no. No, I do have this dirty secret that like one of my favorite Riddlers of all time is Jim Carrey in Batman Forever. Like, yes. I think he's marvelous. I think he's amazing. A man of many voices, like crazy, like you believe he was like that. That movie goes a little nuts so towards the end, but I think he's like a brilliant villain, and I saw that movie many times, mostly because of him. Yeah, Riddler's great too. And Geoffrey Arend as the Riddler is spot on.
So because this is a saga, where would you like your Batman to end?
I think there's some unanswered questions about his relationship with Damian. I think that's got to come full circle somehow. I think that's always been, as I keep banging on, that's kind of, integral to this run. And I think something has to happen with maybe with the Justice League, with some of those relationships. Although I do feel like Batman and Superman got a lot of mileage out of those Superman movies that just came out, Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman. So Yeah, I think it's more personal for him. I think it all boils down to Damian. And I don't know if that's something that'll ever be resolved, whether it'll be sooner, later, how long this is going to go on for. I'm certainly going to write it for as long as they ask me. But this does feel like a high water mark, Batman Hush, for this continuity. So I'm just going to try not to think about the future. I'm just trying to enjoy this for what it is. Were you good?
Anybody else?
No?
Favorite voice actor? Anybody you admire, look up to?
Well, I mean, I already mentioned Kevin Conroy. He's
Not necessarily Batman.
really good. Yeah, not necessarily Batman, but he's still good. Even, even then. Oh, gosh. I think Mark Hamill does a great job as the Joker. I know, I'm trying to think of non-Batman related voices. Oh, gosh. I do love, like, some of the Toy Story voices. I think are amazing. Like Tom Hanks in Toy Story is just incredible. I think I love it when Ernie, particularly, I mean, I love comedy, believe it or not, even though I don't get a chance to do much of it, but I do love it when there's something so honest about comic actors when they stand up in front of the mic, and I love that. So, like, you know, I just love all kinds of voice acting and animation, and when it works, it works, you know. So no, I can't think of anyone right now. Of course, I'll walk out of here and I'll think of 10.
You enjoyed the movie. If it was in Justice League Dark, Batman had like some moments where it was like unintentionally funny. But he was just doing stuff like the ghost or like, oh yeah, you're coming next, and like boom, and like. So did you kind of enjoy like Batman's dynamic with that whole movie?
Oh, totally. I mean, I took one look at that script and I thought, this is a fantastic opportunity to show sort of a lighter side of Batman, because he's essentially the eyes and ears of the audience, and he's skeptical about all of this like dark supernatural stuff. It all seems like just mumbo jumbo to him, but you know, you have to be sort of skeptical and then be brought into this and then realize that it is happening, it is real. So yeah, it's that was a lot of fun to do. That was a lot of fun, and I think if you include Justice League Dark with the other films he's done, we've got a really nice cross section of Batman, and you know, I just feel very, very honored to be able to have played him for this long over such a large arc. And you know, long may it last. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great con. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave